Thank you, Clemens. I will present on behalf of the thematic working group and for Dirk Hinterlang, the facilitator of this group, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. This is at least some parts of our group. I like this picture because we all look very happy. Probably because it was the last meeting that we had, finalizing the specifications. Actually, we were many more. I think it's the biggest thematic working group. We have been 19 people involved because we also cover 3 different themes. As far as organizational, we have actually created subgroups for each theme. And Brian McSherry was the contact point and is still the contact point and he's from the European Topic Center. We have Anne Smith, who's the Habitats and Biotopes contact point, and we have Nils Valland, who is the contact point for species distribution. So since we are a lot of people involved, we have actually a quite huge coverage. We have 11 countries covered, which is quite impressive, I think. We have also close connection with the, as I mentioned, with the European Topic Center and the EEA. We also have representatives from the EU-funded projects, Nature SDI Plus, and from the eBone projects. We have also coverage of various international, national domain networks. And so, of course, we have had very high expertise for all 3 themes. And then finally, we have also had Dirk Hinterlang was, as the facilitator, was also a member of the Annex 1 protected sites. Some statistics, I mean, we have analyzed more than 100 reference material and user requirements. And we have also, during the consultation phase, solved more than 300 comments. So these 3 themes, biogeographical regions, habitats and biotopes, species distributions, are part of these biodiversity themes, where we have also the protected sites from Annex 1. So biogeographical regions are areas where they have relatively homogeneous ecological conditions, and habitats and biotopes are spatial environment of biotic community or with specific species. And then finally, for the distribution, we have species distribution. We have the geographical distribution of occurrence of animal and plant species at a specific given location. So now I jump into each of these 3 specifications and will try to guide a little bit on these 100+ pages specifications. So for biogeographical regions, the overall aim, actually the main use case was to provide this data structure from this biogeographical regions that are addressed by the Habitats Directive. But we also wanted to allow and support other types of ecological regions for various analysis at a European scale, or even for use at a local level. That can be a regional, national, or subnational level. And the result, which you will be able to see in the specification, is a very generic and very simple data model. And as I mentioned, that the theme, the title of the theme somehow relates to this well-known data set, biogeographical regions, provided by the EEA. The TVG was aware that there are really a manifold of approaches to these kind of descriptions, and that can be materialized with the proposed model. So this is actually the only feature type we have in the application schema. Each of these, an instance of this feature type is one of these areas in the map here. And this example is a classification scheme from the Habitats Directive. It's the biogeographical regions defined in Annex Article 1 for Natura 2000. And basically, these are these two attributes, region classification scheme, are those where you specify which classification scheme you're using. And in the specification we have proposed, there are 4 classification schemes, which are also in the current draft implementing rules. And this is, firstly, the one that I've mentioned already, the Natura 2000 and Emerald biogeographical regions. Then we have the environmental stratification of Europe. We have natural vegetation of Europe, and we have also regions proposed by the new Marine Strategy Framework Directive. But I have mentioned this earlier, it's important to emphasize that member states can extend classification code lists for their own needs. This is an example from Germany, where they have biogeographical subclasses at a member state level. But it's important to mention that there are no obligations for providing these from the member states. The next theme is the habitats and biotopes. Well, from the directive, it's reading that we have to provide support for habitats and biotopes and their distinct boundaries, and that can be both areas, volumes and lines. Volumes because it can also be marine habitats. And then the focus for the group has also been to provide a specification for distribution of habitats, and I'll come back to that. Basically, the result is that in order to achieve interoperability with the various classification schemes of habitat types that exist, that the thematic working group have proposed some mandatory reference habitat types to which that all locally used habitat types have to be mapped to. And it was considered by the thematic working groups that this mapping will not cause much additional burden for the data providers. And in addition, the model also allows for data using the local habitat classification. That means that even though that you can risk to lose information in the mapping process, you will still be able to provide also the local classifications. And that's a principle that is used for both the habitat, the mapping part and the distribution part. This is the data model for the habitat mapping part. Basically, one instance of this habitat type is shown as an example up here. I think it's also an example from Germany. And each habitat contains information about the habitat type, which I also mentioned. And there, as I mentioned, it's both from the reference list, so you have to provide the habitat type according to a well-known reference list, but it's also possible to provide the local type if you have such one. In addition, it's possible to specify species or vegetation types that is included in or that is covered by the habitat. And actually, one point that I should mention here is that so this type is using actually the type reference species scheme from the species distribution application schema, which I will present in a minute. So these well-known habitat types, there are 3 of them, which are all included both, of course, in the guidelines, but also in the draft implementing rules. We have the UNIS habitat classification, Then we have the habitats type defined in the Annex 1 of the Habitats Directive. And then finally, according to the new Marine Strategy Framework Directive, we also will have a possibility to use the habitat types from here. One thing we also support the map is habitat complexes. A habitat complex is a situation where a habitat contains several habitat types. And actually this is illustrated by this multiplicity of one-to-many. So one habitat type can have many types included. And you use then the area covered, or the length covered, or the volume covered to indicate with the information on the area, length, and volume covered by each of these types. Okay. So now I come to the distribution part. It contains 2 feature types, and this is what we call in the extended model. So this is an image or a map, a habitat distribution map, where the data set is simply the whole collection here, and the habitat distribution unit is each of these, in this case, each of these grid cells. So each of these distribution units contains information about which is the habitat type, of course, and it also provides information on the total area or volume or length of a given unit that a habitat type covers. And then this attributes, and then finally it also contains information on when the original data was collected. But it's important to emphasize that this habitat distribution is not part of the implementing rule, it's only in the technical guidance, which also means that it can be maintained and updated based on new requirements later. Also in the habitat distribution we have the possibility to refer to other spatial objects. Basically we have a habitat distribution unit. Again, in this case, it's not a grid cell. In this case, it's actually corresponds to an administrative unit. And then it's possible, actually, instead of providing the geometry within the distribution unit itself, to provide a reference to this spatial object that is actually used as basis for the geometry. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is in this case, it's an administrative Unit in North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany. It's possible, it's not a requirement, so you can either use the geometry as a copy of the original spatial object, or you can make the reference. So that's open to the data provider. Also for the distribution part, we have additional metadata on a feature level. And this is mainly for the purpose of documenting the aggregation of habitats into a distribution. And it contains information such as which is the institution that was responsible for the aggregation, how the original source data was collected. And it's an information, this diamond down here indicates that it's a collective, it can be used, it can be shared among several distribution units, so as to avoid redundancy. Okay, so going to the last theme, which is the species distribution. The aim of species distribution is to provide a model for the distribution of species at an aggregated level. Additionally, it has been very important for the group to focus on the harmonization of species taxa. And then finally, even though it's not actually it's explicitly not in the scope of the directive because the directive asks for aggregated data. But there has been, in particular during the consultation phase, there has been substantial expression of requirements to allow member states to provide observational data also. So this is basically the focus of species distribution. The result, again, adopting the similar pattern from the habitats and biotopes. The thematic working group have proposed some mandatory reference taxa names to which all locally used taxonomy has to be mapped. And again, it is not considered to be a heavy burden for the data providers. Again, as with the habitats and biotopes, it is also possible for the member states to provide locally accepted taxonomy data. Then finally, well, it's important for the interpretation of the aggregated data to have metadata about this specific is also included in the model, and finally the observation data can also be included in the extended model. I'll show that. So what is species distribution? Basically we have a number of observations which is then made into a map, in this case just indicating presence, searched for but not found, and not searched for. This is a very primitive classification, but this is basically what it is about, the aggregation to come from the observational data to the aggregated data. So this is the data model, contains only 2 feature types. The data set itself, which is the whole thing here. Actually, I have to say that this map is an example of from the testing phase from our version 2 of the specification. It's in Scandinavia, which shows the distribution of this little bird here, lapwing. And this was successfully mapped using the data from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So the species distribution units are each of these cells here. And each of these single units contains information about the species taxa. And this is all these attributes here. I will not go into detail, but just to say that the same pattern, that you have a reference and you can also provide the local taxa. Then we have some occurrence. So I mentioned before the presence, non-presence, but we also have, if possible, various information on the population size, residency status, and the type of the population. There's also information and indication of whether or not data are sensitive, and finally also when data was collected. I mentioned this reference taxa. We have 3 schemes. We have EU Numen. This is an outcome of a pan-European species distribution species directories infrastructure project. It's a European project. And we have UNIS species classification, and finally we have Natura 2000 from the Habitats Directive. This list is prioritized, actually, indicated in the specification, where it's recommended to use the EU Numen taxonomy. So actually, the same pattern for referring to other spatial objects is used here. Again, for reporting obligations, member states usually have, or sometimes have to provide a distribution based on, for example, notch levels, and this can be made in referring to the spatial object instead of copying the geometry. I also mentioned this additional metadata on feature level. It's exactly the same pattern as for habitat distribution, so I will not go into detail. And actually, it's also not in the implementing rules, so this is not part of the legal text and obliging member states to provide that. I mentioned this link to observations, and here we have, this is indicated here, that for each unit, so for each of these, we can refer to observation data, and we can do it by two means. First of all, there's an attribute called occurrence record identifier, and that can be for example, the Darwin Core triple from the Darwin Core standard, or ABCD identifier. I'm not a thematic expert, but I hope that some of you will recognize these. But at least that has been a requirement from the community. So basically you would include, in this case, two observation record identifiers. Another possibility is to refer to an observation set, give a link to an observation set. This is specified in the INSPIRE base models. And this again links to individual observations from the observations and measurements, which we also saw before, actually. Again, it's not in the implementing rule, it's not required by the directive, but it's a pattern that can be used to provide observation data, which apparently seems to be very important for the community. So, I'm almost finished. A summary. I mean, I have given some highlights from the application schemas from these three themes. The focus of the group, perhaps not initially, but at least finally, was to make it as simple as possible, but still respecting those use cases that were defined. We have, especially for habitats and biotopes and species distribution, divided the specification into legal parts and what is only meant to be guidelines. We are working also only for habitat, well, actually for all three. We are working with reference classification schemes, but also allowing local schemes not to lose information. In my presentation, I did not mention handling of identifiers, life cycle, metadata, dataset level, but they are more or less aligned with the general approach specified in the framework documents. So, thank you.